Hey everyone! ChatGPT Taylor aka Taylor here. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is something that's quite time sensitive. Now that we know the final 3 campers for Season 4 of Disventure Camp, now is the perfect time to talk about the upcoming jury vote. As a refresher, we were informed of this twist after Amelie's elimination, where it was revealed that all eliminated competitors who made it to the merge phase of the season will form the Disventure Camp jury. While one member of the final 3 will win immunity, the other 2 will face the jury, who will vote to eliminate one of the remaining 2 campers. There's been plenty of speculation over the last few weeks regarding who might be eliminated through this vote. And as a side note, I've also seen some confusion regarding whether or not this jury vote is a vote to save or a vote to eliminate. But based on the Disventure Camp wiki as well as the way Amelie phrased it, I'm going off the assumption that it's a vote to eliminate. Thus, this video will be me sharing my thoughts on how each camper could possibly vote, and ending with a full tally of how each vote could play out. And a special thanks to Gnome Haviv for reminding me about this topic. Let's do this. Before I begin, make sure to like and subscribe if this video is to your liking, and make sure to comment down below if there's anything that you would like to see going forward. And just one more thing before we start. This video will require me to remember many specific details from the entire season, and I'll admit that there's a very large chance that I'm going to miss something big that will make my predictions incorrect. If you spot something that you think isn't correct, feel free to let me know what I missed in the comments below. And with that, let's start. Let's kick this off by starting with our first juror, Benji. I can't imagine a scenario where Benji votes out Zaid. Benji mentioned in episode 23 that Zaid made him feel like he belonged, which I would assume is very important to him. Especially considering that Benji expressed his disappointment at how out of place he felt once Zaid arrived at the loser's location to complete the Vibe Tribe, thus diverting more of Tristan's attention from Benji to Zaid. And yes, even though Zaid did vote Benji out, the two of them seemed to be on good terms in episode 16, so I'm inclined to think that Benji would want Zaid in the finale no matter who she's against in the jury vote. But who would Benji pick to save between Logan and Anastasia? Well, I can't say that Benji has had any significant interactions with either of them. His most notable interaction with Anastasia was when she kneed him in the groin in episode 2, while his most notable interaction with Logan is arguably when Logan and Richard pulled him off the pole in episode 11. So there's not much to go off of here. In the end, I feel like Benji's closeness with Hannah, and Hannah's recent closeness to Logan would push Benji towards voting out Anastasia over Logan. And if you take into account the fact that Anastasia voted Benji out, while Logan didn't, I feel like it's reasonable to say that Benji would vote Anastasia out before Logan. But he would still vote out either of them before Zaid. Moving on, the second juror is Richard. Richard's first choice is obvious. I think Richard would always try and save Logan, regardless of who he's against in the jury vote. I just don't think any form of campaigning from Zaid or Anastasia could overcome the deep, personal friendship that Richard and Logan share. And sure, their friendship has been put to the test on a couple of occasions, but by the time Richard was eliminated, their friendship seemed to be back on great terms. And with Richard singing Logan's praises in episode 23, I think it's clear that Richard would never vote to eliminate Logan in the jury vote. But what if Anastasia and Zaid are in the jury vote? Well, while it's not set in stone, I think Richard leans towards voting out Zaid, purely because in episode 23, Richard admitted that he didn't agree with everything that Zaid did, even though he acknowledged that she's a contender. Combine this with Richard praising Anastasia's decision to send herself into the duel against Linda in episode 11, I feel like Richard respects Anastasia's game slightly more than Zaid. And thus, I think as it stands, Richard would rather vote out Zaid than Anastasia. However, he would still vote for either of them over Logan. Up next, we have an ally of Richard's, it's Natalia. For Natalia, I'm inclined to think that she would vote out Zaid first, regardless of who's against her in the vote between Anastasia and Logan. Don't get me wrong, I don't think Natalia outright hates Zaid. And she even called Zaid cool in her rant in episode 17 when she cursed off many of the others, including Anastasia. However, she seemed to change her tune in episode 23 when she declared that she loves Anastasia. I've seen some people speculate that Natalia has something up her sleeve and is hiding her hatred of Anastasia for some reason. But because I'm not fully convinced that Natalia is hiding her hatred, I'm going to stick with Zaid as her first choice to eliminate. That being said, while I think Natalia would vote out Zaid over Anastasia, I also think that she would vote out Anastasia over Logan. While Natalia did call Anastasia a queen and expressed her love for her in episode 23, Natalia expressed even more praise for Logan in the same episode, saying that he's brilliant and amazing. And when you add this to the fact that Logan and Natalia pretty much repaired their friendship by the time that Natalia was voted out back in episode 17, I feel comfortable saying that Natalia would spare Logan over Anastasia and Zaid. But if pressed with a decision, she would also spare Anastasia over Zaid. Next, we have the current record holder for the most votes cast against them in one season, it's Spencer. If there's one thing that's clear, it's that Spencer would likely vote to eliminate Anastasia over both Zaid and Logan. While Anastasia and Spencer had moments during the season where they worked together, I feel like their overall interactions had less highs and more lows compared to Spencer's interactions with Zaid and Logan. And when you add in the fact that Spencer praised both Jade and Logan's games in episode 23, while not mentioning Anastasia's game much, I feel like it's unlikely that Spencer would eliminate Jade or Logan if they were against Anastasia in the jury vote. However, who would Spencer vote out if Logan and Jade are caught in the jury vote? On one hand, Spencer and Jade played the game together from the very beginning, and even though they eventually separated, Spencer congratulated Jade on successfully voting him out in episode 18, so he's probably not that bitter towards her for his elimination. Additionally, Spencer defended Jade from criticism during episode 23's meeting, while also calling her the smartest camper left and the most likely winner. On the other hand, Spencer and Logan also had some pretty serious interactions, with them becoming friends after Spencer was sent to the blue team in episode 9. Yes, they also experienced some turmoil due to Spencer's role in Richard's elimination, but they still managed to mend their friendship by the time Spencer was eliminated. And similarly to Jade, Spencer also praised Logan during the juror meeting in episode 23, and even seemed upset when Isabel rebuked him over his claim of Logan playing a good game. So, I could genuinely see him going either way. Interestingly enough, if the jury vote ends up in a 5-4 split, which I think is likely since Odd Nation Cartoons loves to build suspense, I think it's very possible that Spencer could be the swing vote. But for the sake of this video, I have to make a choice. This might be an unpopular choice, but my gut is telling me that Spencer would vote out Jade over Logan. And there are two reasons why. Firstly, with Isabel's attempts to convince everyone to vote for Jade being shown in a comedic manner, and with Logan's popularity among some of the jurors being made clear in episode 23, I feel like it's setting up an ending where Logan beats Jade in a jury vote due to his popularity and Isabel's campaigns backfiring. And if Spencer is the swing vote here, he would have to vote out Jade in order for this to happen. And secondly, since Spencer's primary scene in episode 23, aside from the juror meeting of course, is when he expressed to Benji that he envied his authenticity and social skills, I think this could hint that Spencer is starting to appreciate the social aspect of Disventure Camp much more than in the past. This could be leading towards the end of an arc where Spencer goes from a hyper-strategic player to a player who appreciates the social game. And if this is the case, I could see a world where Spencer's personal feelings for Logan as a friend would override his appreciation for Jade's strategic game, and Spencer's arc would end with him fully embracing his appreciation for social bonds by making a personal decision and voting for the person who he could genuinely call his friend. So, I think Spencer would vote to eliminate Anastasia no matter what, followed by Jade, and then Logan, but it's still close between Jade and Logan. Up next, we have the leader herself, Marissa. I think Marissa's voting prediction is the easiest out of all the jurors. For one, there is no possible scenario where Marissa votes out Anastasia. The two of them are very clearly in love. Marissa has been extremely defensive about Anastasia's game, so I think Marissa would side with Anastasia regardless of who she's up against between Logan and Jade. And if the jury vote came down to Logan and Jade, then Marissa would definitely vote out Jade, as Marissa declared during episode 23 that Jade would never have her support due to Jade's role in setting up the episode 19 tiebreaker between Anastasia and herself. Thus, I think Marissa votes out Jade whenever she gets the chance, followed by Logan, and Anastasia would be spared by Marissa no matter the circumstance. Pretty simple. And going from an easy decision to a difficult one, we have Zaid next. Zaid's decision is particularly difficult considering that he's voiced his hatred for each of the remaining finalists. In episode 23 alone, Zaid criticized Anastasia for using her friends as pawns, criticized Jade for hiding behind scapegoats, and declared that Logan doesn't have his support. And outside of this episode, each of the final three have hurt Zaid in some way. Jade played a role in voting out Ivy, which we know Zaid took personally. Logan threw Zaid under the bus in episode 20, which resulted in Zaid's elimination. And Anastasia never gave Zaid the chance to defend himself regarding Marissa's elimination, instead believing Logan at face value. So, it's not easy to determine who Zaid would vote to eliminate in each jury vote scenario. However, I will say this. Based on how a decent portion of episode 23 showed the other jury members scolding Zaid for being salty, and the episode ended with Zaid expressing that he didn't want to be angry anymore, I think we're heading towards an ending where Zaid's vote will depend on which of the finalists apologizes to him and which ones he chooses to forgive, if any. So to me, in order to predict who Zaid would vote out, I need to predict who out of the final three is most likely to make a genuine apology that Zaid would appreciate. And with this in mind, I feel like Anastasia is the least likely to apologize, mostly in part due to her headstrong and self-assuring personality. Thus, I think Zaid would pick Anastasia as his first choice to eliminate, as this would also play into the arc of Anastasia finally having to take accountability after she gets third place. As for Jade and Logan, it's a little tougher. On one hand, I think it's clear that Zaid has voiced more displeasure for Logan's betrayal in episode 20 than Jade's betrayal in episode 12, so Jade has less bad favor to erase by apologizing. But on the other hand, since the show seems to hint at Zaid learning to let go of his anger, the clear move that Zaid could make to show this would be for him to accept Logan's apology and save him during the jury vote. Yes, I know that people might want to throw up when hearing this, but I just feel like Odd Nation Cartoons holds Logan in such a high regard that they would prefer it if the jury forgave Logan in order to signal to the viewers that they should forgive him too. The community might be looking for consequences, but that doesn't mean it'll happen. So, my gut is telling me that if Jade and Logan face the jury vote, Zaid would find a way to get over his anger, accept Logan's apology, and vote to eliminate Jade over Logan. But of course, Zaid would still eliminate Anastasia over either of them. Next, let's look at perhaps our most neutral juror, Amelie. Amelie has some sort of relationship with each member of the final three, and episode 23 featured her praising each member of the final three in some way. For Anastasia, Amelie admitted that she was impressed at how willing she was to get blood on her hands. For Jade, Amelie admitted that she has drive and recognizes competition, considering that she orchestrated Amelie's elimination twice. And for Logan, Amelie noted that it was good for him to eliminate her since it gave him control over his own game. With all of this considered, I would not be shocked to see Amelie take any of the finalists' sides during the jury vote. But ultimately, I have to make a solid prediction. And at this point, because I feel like Amelie is the type of character who values bold strategic gameplay and self-confidence, I feel like Amelie would lean towards voting to eliminate Logan first, since many of Logan's major moves involve him flipping, and he never really seemed to back himself when he did it. In comparison, Anastasia and Jade are at least accepting of their gameplay and have confidence when they make big moves. And between these two, I'm inclined to say that Amelie leans towards voting out Anastasia over Jade, purely because I think Amelie is really flattered by the fact that Jade got her eliminated twice. And while I don't think Amelie has a major ego, I do believe that praising Amelie is a way to get on her good side. And since Amelie views Jade targeting her twice as an admission of her threat level, I feel comfortable saying that Amelie would back Jade first, followed by Anastasia, and with Logan at the bottom as her first choice to eliminate. Let's keep this going by talking about a very vocal member of the jury, Isabel. Now, this might be a bit of a hot take, but I have a sneaking suspicion that Isabel might want Jade to win.
Is it about how much we love Jade? You know who else loves loons? And all animals, well, mainly sea animals? Jade! Always remember WWJD. What would Jade do? You know who else is going to be winning something? Jade!
I don't know, just a hunch. But in all seriousness, it's clear that Isabel would vote against whoever is sitting next to Jade during the jury vote, and I doubt that's up for debate. The only debate to be had is who Isabel would vote for if Logan and Anastasia face the jury vote. I can see why people would say that Isabel would want to vote out Logan, since she stated in episode 23 that she believes Logan just went with the flow and took too long to start playing the game. That being said, I just don't believe that this is enough to beat out Isabel's hatred for Anastasia. Even though Isabel mentioned in her departing words that God would label her as a hypocrite for being mad at a blind side, considering how Isabel and Anastasia were not on good terms before Isabel's elimination, I think Isabel's dislike for Anastasia goes beyond her contribution to her elimination. Additionally, since Isabel kind of went through an arc of not wanting to be wicked, I feel like it would be consistent with her character if she tried to take out the person who she viewed as being more wicked. And with Isabel calling Anastasia paranoid and aggressive, I think it's reasonable to predict that Isabel would vote out Anastasia before Logan, while noting that she would vote both of them out before Jade. And now we go to our ninth and final juror, Hannah. To me, I think there's one thing that I can be reasonably confident in with Hannah's vote. And that thing is that she will not vote out Logan under any circumstances. The most recent episode showed that out of everyone in the final three, it seems like Hannah has the best relationship with Logan. And considering how annoyed Hannah got with playing the game towards the end of the season, I don't think Hannah is looking to keep the person who played the best game. I think she would rather keep for the person that she enjoyed being around the most. And based on their recent reactions, it seems like Logan is that person. Thus, I think Hannah would rather vote out Anastasia or Jade over Logan. But who would Hannah vote out between Anastasia and Jade? Well, up until she eliminated Amelie, Anastasia generally had some good interactions with Hannah, even to the point that Hannah assured Anastasia that she would have her back no matter what. And with Jade, their interactions seemed to be okay at first, but once Jade played a role in voting out Benji, I feel like their bond broke down. Hannah never seemed to forgive Jade for doing that, and I suppose it didn't help that Jade eventually stole Hannah's vote and then voted Hannah out in the following episode. Anastasia also voted with Hannah in episode 24 to tie the vote, so that's a plus in her favor. So based on her bonds with each of them, I feel like Jade's moves against Hannah have given Hannah more of a reason to vote her out, and thus, I feel like Hannah would choose to eliminate Jade over Anastasia. But again, she would still vote either of them out over Logan. So based on these predictions, how would each vote scenario play out? Well, if Logan and Anastasia face the jury vote, my predictions state that Anastasia would be voted out by a vote of 7-2. If Logan and Jade face the jury vote, my predictions state that Jade would be voted out by a vote of 6-3. And if Jade and Anastasia face the jury vote, my predictions state that Anastasia would be voted out by a vote of 5-4. So based on these results, I can make one conclusion. I probably messed something up. And the reason why I think I messed up is because I don't think any of these scenarios is likely. I wholeheartedly believe that the vote tally will be 5-4, because this is the perfect way to add suspense to the vote, and Odd Nation Cartoons loves to do that. With this in mind, the only scenario with that vote total that I predicted is Anastasia versus Jade. Granted, I do think that one of them will be eliminated in this episode, but is Logan really going to escape the jury vote? Sure, maybe Odd Nation Cartoons will reason that Logan is obviously the favorite among the jury members, so there wouldn't be any suspense if he's in the jury vote because it's not likely that the jury turns against him, based on what we've seen up to this point. However, I feel like keeping Logan out of the jury vote removes the opportunity for Zaid and Logan to find closure, which I think the show is hinting towards. I really think that when he's pressed by Zaid for his betrayal in episode 20, Logan will genuinely apologize for doing so, and Zaid will find a way to set aside his anger, forgive Logan, and vote out the person sitting next to him. I just feel like narratively, that makes more sense, even if it's not as suspenseful. With the finale less than a week away, I feel compelled to make a final prediction, even though I could easily be proven wrong when the episode airs. But for the sake of making things interesting, I'm going to officially predict that Anastasia will win immunity, forcing Logan and Jade into the jury vote, and Jade will be voted out by a 5-4 vote, with Jade receiving the support from Benji, Amelie, and Isabel, just like I predicted, as well as Spencer since he could easily be on the fence. Only time will tell if this prediction will age well, and maybe luck will be on my side in this instance. And that about does it for this video. What did you think of the video? Do you agree with my thoughts? Do you disagree? Did I miss anything major that would make my predictions very incorrect? Either way, please let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like the video, click subscribe if you really like the video, and for some ending words of wisdom. If the camper with a penchant for flipping starts claiming that your closest ally betrayed you, maybe you should ask your ally for their side of the story before you jump to conclusions. Thank you, and farewell.